Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we are going to speak about the Office of Strategic Services. Before 1940, the United States State Department, FBI, and the different branches of military all had their own security and counterintelligence operations, which did not easily share information with each other. With another war raging in Europe, however, President Franklin D. Roosevelt wanted greater coordination when it came to gathering and acting on intelligence. So, in July of 1941, he would tap Colonel William J. Donovan, known as Wild Bill, for a newly created office, the Coordinator of Information. After the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, Roosevelt acted swiftly to improve U.S. intelligence capabilities even further. In June of 1942, he issued an executive order establishing the OSS, which replaced the COI and would be charged with collecting and analyzing strategic intelligence along with running special operations outside of the other branches of the U.S. military under the control of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. As the head of the OSS, Donovan would become frustrated when his rival agencies effectively blocked access to intercepted Axis communication, the most vital source of wartime intelligence. But despite such obstacles, Donovan quickly built up the ranks of his organization, training new recruits in national parks in Maryland and Virginia, and establishing full-fledged operations in Europe, Asia, and elsewhere. In addition to gathering intelligence, fostering resistance, and spreading disinformation behind enemy lines, OSS operatives carried out soldier rescues, guerrilla warfare, and sabotage, along with many other missions. The organization also developed its own counterintelligence operation known as the X-2 branch, which could operate overseas but had no jurisdiction in the Western Hemisphere. Before Operation Torch, the Allied invasion of North Africa in late 1942, a dozen OSS officers traveled to the region and began work as vice consuls in separate ports, establishing local networks and gathering information that would prove vital to the successful Allied landings. In advance of the D-Day landings in Normandy in 1944, Paratroopers and Special Operations branch of the OSS would parachute into Nazi-occupied France, Belgium, and the Netherlands to coordinate airdrops of supplies, meet with local resistance forces, and make guerrilla attacks on German troops. As Dwight D. Eisenhower once said of the OSS, quote, "If it had done nothing else, the intelligence gathered alone before D-Day justified its existence." End quote. Roosevelt would die in April of 1945, and his successor Harry S. Truman had no inclination to prolong the existence of the OSS when World War II ended later that year. By executive order, Donovan's agency would be dissolved as of October of 1945, but its secret intelligence and X-2 branches would become the nucleus of a new peacetime intelligence service, the Central Intelligence Agency, which would be created in 1947. At its peak in late 1944, nearly 13,000 men and women had worked for the OSS, with some 7,500 of them deployed overseas. Their identities remained classified until 2008, when the National Archives released OSS personnel records. In addition to 4 CIA directors, Alan Dulles, Richard Helms, William Colby, and William Casey, the ranks of the OSS had included United States Supreme Court Justice Arthur Goldberg, Pulitzer Prize-winning historian Arthur Schlesinger Jr., film director John Ford, actor Sterling Hayden, Harvard scholar Ralph Bunche, and baseball player and coach Mo Berg. One of the 4,500 women to serve in the OSS was Julia Child, who moved to Paris after the war and became a famous chef and cookbook author. Child began her career as a research assistant at the OSS headquarters in Washington, D.C., where she worked directly with Donovan, and moved on to the agency's Emergency Sea Rescue Equipment section. Child would be responsible for developing the shark repellent that would be coated on explosives that targeted German U-boats. From 1944 to 1945, Child worked overseas in Sri Lanka and China and other places, where she handled highly classified papers that dealt with the invasion of the Malay Peninsula. Her husband, Paul, was also an OSS officer. Each year, the OSS Society, which includes former OSS members and members of the United States intelligence, military, and special operations communities, hold a dinner to celebrate and honor the members of its ranks in their wartime service. Last November, several members of Congress introduced a bill that would award the Congressional Gold Medal to surviving OSS veterans in recognition of their superior service and major contributions during World War II. Though the United States Senate unanimously voted in favor of the legislation, and 320 representatives have signed on as co-sponsors, the measure has stalled in the House due to a rule stating that a congressional medal bill needs a waiver by House Leadership Executive Committee. And there you have it, the Office of Strategic Services. What do you think about this office and what it became as the CIA? Tell us all about it in the comments below. Be sure you're subscribed with your notifications turned on, and I'll bring you more great videos like this one in the future.